各位朋友们大家好，安安大家好，我是苏探，欢迎来到今天的节目。今天我要跟大家分享一下以前苏联 KGB 的一个情报人员，他收到美国的电视台访谈的时候，有跟他们披露就是整个苏联要怎么样渗透美国跟西方世界。其实我听了之后觉得哇塞，跟现在发生的事情一模一样的，就是100%预言了。那这个情报人员他叫 Yuri Bezmenov， 他以前是在印度工作的，他也会讲印度话，然后当过一个记者，同时也当间谍。那后来又逃亡到加拿大，也成为一个反共人士。因为他对 KGB 的内部流程非常熟悉，跟 KGB 要渗透全世界的计划也是非常熟悉的，所以将这些资讯有分享给自由世界，并有警告自由世界所有的福利社会，所有的共产主义社会主义带来的风险是什么。那我个人认为这部影片是每个自由世界的人都应该要看，尤其是每天被中共恐吓的台湾人。我特别把内容翻译成中文，那接下来我会特别放一部影片，就是直接他的访谈，然后下面会有中文字幕，很欢迎各位来分享。你们看了之后可能会更加的了解现在中共跟其他的共产主义国家跟极权主义国家想要怎么样影响到全世界，还有现在在美国所发生的事情，跟现在的所谓的那种左派跟社会主义的新浪潮背后是什么原因的。那有一些朋友们会说啊，都是阴谋论了啦，没有什么社会主义渗透的啦，那都是造谣的了，不存在的啦，左派思想其实没有那么糟糕。30几年前从苏联体制逃出来的一个 KGB 一个间谍，就是直接跟你讲里面所发生的事情跟他们背后的原因，你还不信吗？所以我们先一起看，然后我中间会停下来几遍，然后说一下我的想法。好，那我们就来看一下 KGB 间谍的访谈影片。
Well, you spoke several times before about ideological subversion. That is a phrase that I'm afraid some Americans don't fully understand. When the Soviets used the phrase ideological subversion, what do they mean by it?
Ideological subversion is the process which is legitimate, overt, and open. You can see it with your own eyes. All you have to do, all American mass media has to do, is to unplug their bananas from their ears, open up their eyes, and they can see it. There is no mystery. There is nothing to do with espionage. I know that espionage intelligence gathering looks more romantic. It sells more deodorants through the advertising, probably. That's why your Hollywood producers are so crazy about James Bond type of thrillers.
这是一个重点，现在情报单位的工作已经不像那个007电影一样很神秘啊，很浪漫啊，很有趣啊。要特别关心的是他们如何影响到言论，透过什么样的方式影响到言论。关于这件事情我以前也拍过还蛮多影片，你们看苏共的颠覆意识形态战略或中共的3战其实是有非常接近的概念，就是中共的舆论战、心理战跟法律战，就是简称3战，基本上看起来也都是在法律框架里面运作的啊。但是实际上3战的意义就是用意识形态颠覆某个民主国家。因为苏联瓦解了，现在俄罗斯的影响力也是比前苏共小很多，但是现在有个更大的更可怕的就是中共。那中共一直以来没有什么创新的能力，它大部分的概念都是直接借用苏共那一套，然后重新包装重新改造。以外美国明明就是自由世界的自由的灯塔，战胜苏共的一个国家，但是确实对中共所做的事情跟这些意识形态战略好像还是在婴儿的状态。我说的是美国社会，可能专家是了解的，但是美国人对社会主义跟左派那种福利社会带来的风险是好像是一无所知的。他们好像也不觉得随着时间社会主义会改变他的外皮跟他说话的方式。
But in reality, the main emphasis of the KGB is not in the area of intelligence at all. According to my opinion and opinion of many defectors of my caliber, only about 15% of time, money, and manpower is spent on espionage as such. The other 85% is a slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country.
接下来他就是会直接介绍整个颠覆意识形态战略的过程，但是在这里他说到了一个重点，这个过程是很漫长的，而且直接透过教育，直接透过思想改造改变某个国家，在这里比方说是美国对这个世界的观感，并让他们慢慢的接受大政府主义、社会主义、福利社会，慢慢的让他们觉得社会主义很好。那位左派最大的危险是在哪里？就是要打破对国家的概念，对自我保护的概念，反正你就要把一切属于你的自由给政府，叫政府管，你的权利也是政府给的。这个是跟美国的传统的价值观很不一样的。什么是美国传统价值观？从美国的独立宣言延伸出来的，跟从美国宪法里面延伸出来的，就是你有 unalienable rights， 你就是有个不可剥夺的权利。那些权利是怎么来的？是政府给的吗？是你一出生就有的权利，是上帝给你的。那哪一些权利是不可剥夺的？就是生命、自由跟追求幸福的权利。那这个概念也可以说是美国的爱国主义的核心概念，也可以说是现在的自由意志的一个核心概念，就是政府的责任是什么，跟政府有没有资格剥夺你的权利，跟中共所主张的好像是完全不一样的。而且现在在美国那些左派的运动要消灭的，第一个要消灭的就是爱国主义的，跟你看他们一直在攻击 Second Amendment 第2修正案要把美国人的枪拿走。但是在这方面我一直都说，每个坏蛋都有枪啊，那警察也不一定能保护到你啊，那你有没有权利保护你自己的生命啊？我认为有，然后美国的爱国主义者也认为他们有，但是左派觉得太危险了，你有枪的话政府就不会太嚣张啊，所以他们现在想要用各式各样的方式把第2修正案给每个美国人的权利拿走。这件事情比方说台湾是没有拥枪权，对不对？但是你看前阵子馆长就被中3枪一个王八蛋就直接射他3次如果馆长自己有枪的话，看看射他的那个混蛋会不会那么嚣张他把枪拿出来之前会三思他会先调查
It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students.
而且中共很了解这件事情，为什么他要在全球搞教育体系渗透为什么现在到处都有那些孔子学院因为他要培养一代对中共对共产主义有好感的人所以那个时候蓬佩奥讲的非常准确要培养自己的汉学家，有自己的独立思考能力的人，而不是中共教育出来的。以后那些人就真的是会做国策顾问会进入智库他们那些人会把美国的利益摆在第一，还是会把中共的利益摆在第一，这是个问题。那现在在全球有那么多的汉学家，每天在做什么事情？就是填空在任何的国家都是从美国到波兰到英国到任何的一个地方都是这样子那除了汉学家之外，因为那些汉学家可能多多少少有跟共匪有接触过，还有其他领域的专业人士也是我们看看连人权、连医学、连物理化学也都是跟中共绑在一起的。而且现在我们就看得到中共这种政策的后果，怎么样看得到吗？看看世界卫生组织，武汉肺炎疫情刚爆发的时候，他第一时间做什么？帮习近平擦屁股。
In the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism.
那这就是一个重点，因为美国精神是什么？就是有限的政府嘛，政府的权力要有限。当初从欧洲移民到美洲的那些人，他们就是不想要当国王的财产他们就是不想要被那些帝国剥夺他们的权利现在到美国，好像美国也是越来越走向大政府主义这是一件很可怕的事情，因为我们走向社会主义，社会主义的核心意义是什么？就是剥夺生产资料，把生产资料国有化。他们当然是会说是把生产资料给予全民嘛，但基本上谁管理嘛？就国家嘛，党员嘛，就这些人嘛。所以你就是包装很漂亮，但实际上你要当韭菜，你要当奴隶的。而且越来越多西方人开始接受这种概念，因为被福利骗了免费医疗免费教育。 天下没有白吃的午餐，因为白吃不会有午餐，白吃的午餐是党员吃掉了。因为说真的，我每次听到什么共产主义、社会主义左派，谁分配资源？就国家嘛。所以就是你等于重新创造一个权贵阶级啊，像以前苏联一样啊，像现在的中共一样啊。而且对他们会骗人说你一切都免费，那些免费是谁付钱的？就是全民付钱，全民买单，有能力的人买单。而且美国一开始就是给你无限的自由，让你好好的发展自己。现在联邦政府开始管得越来越多，而且越来越多美国人开始接受这件事情。
The result you can see. Most of the people who graduated in the 60s, dropouts or half-baked intellectuals, are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system. You are stuck with them. You cannot get rid of them. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black, you still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior.
有没有讲到一个重点？现在很多受到比较极端的那种左派思想的人，已经年纪也到了，也开始掌握一些核心的职位，像是在公家机关啊，像是在教育体制里面啊。那因此我们现在也可以看到那个所谓的比较极端的政治正确的潮流来出现，这也是会让人觉得有点不舒服啊。但是这只是个开始而已。
In other words, these people, the process of demoralization is complete and irreversible. To get rid of society of these people, you need another 20 or 15 years to educate a new generation of patriotically minded and common sense people who would be acting in favor and in the interests of the United States society.
And yet these people who've been programmed and, as you say, in place and
Yes.
who are favorable to an opening with the Soviet concept, these are the very people who would be marked for extermination in this country?
Most of them, yes. Simply because the psychological shock when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality and social justice means in practice, obviously they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people.
这句话呢，我想直接讲给台监听啊，或给那些亲中的台湾人。当然，这些话也是让给对社会主义有幻想的美国人听。但我觉得台湾人要特别注意他在这里讲的内容啊。说真的，台湾人还没有感受到什么是社会主义的铁拳啊。那些欧阳娜娜们啊，那些洪秀柱们啊，伍思怀啊，都是要接近那个独裁中国。你们是台湾人吗？还是你们是中国人？你们要想你们的核心的国家利益是什么？不要继续卖国，好不好？关于 Opening the Soviets， 就是跟苏联接触这一段。国民党要好好的听啊！当初国民党的蒋经国的3不政策是正确的，就是不接触、不谈判、不妥协。虽然他最后就是快过世的时候也要跟共产党妥协了，但是要记得一件事，因为他也快死了嘛，所以觉得无所谓。但是台湾人不可以啊，台湾人不可以把自己的家乡卖给共匪，共匪吃掉台湾，台湾不会变得更好了，也不会有钱，反而台湾人会像香港人一样被送中、被送进集中营、被屠杀。听一下这个老苏联人讲的什么事情啊。
And the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people. They will join the links of dissenters, dissidents. Unlike in present United States, there will be no place for dissent in future Marxist-Leninist America. Here you can get popular like Daniel Ellsberg and filthy rich like Jane Fonda for being dissident, for criticizing your Pentagon.
对，你现在可以填空发大财啊，你现在可以说社会主义很好，但是以社会主义来到你家园，休想了，赚不到什么钱呢，甚至你连钱都不会有啊。
In future, these people will be simply squashed like cockroaches. Nobody is going to pay them nothing for their beautiful, noble ideas of equality. This they don't understand, and it will be greatest shock for them, of course.
对，欧阳 China， 你觉得中共是你的祖国吗？但是如果有一天中共真的是拿到台湾的话，你会失去你的价值啊，你也会被送进集中营啊，好不好？不要想你现在有台湾籍就一切都很安全啊，你要想办法保护台湾呢。 不然的话就放弃台湾籍，不要当台湾人之耻。
The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. For the last 25 years, actually it's overfulfilled because demoralization now reaches such areas where previously not even Comrade Andropov and all his experts would even dream of such a tremendous success. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards.
这是一个重点，一个国家开始堕落，连境外势力都不需要，它会自己灭。
As I mentioned before, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boot crashes his, then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization.
对，那些填空的家伙们，就算直接让他们看到新疆集中营，他们也不会相信，一直到他们的蛋蛋被军械踹爆，这个中文应该叫蛋疼，一直到他们蛋疼的时候才知道。
So basically America is stuck with demoralization, and unless, even if you start right now, here, this minute, you start educating new generation of Americans, it will still take you 15 to 20 years to turn the tide of ideological perception of reality back to normalcy and patriotism. The next stage is destabilization. This time, subverter does not care about your ideas and the patterns of your consumption. Whether you eat junk food and get fat and flabby, it doesn't matter anymore.
道德败坏的过程结束后，你就有个堕落的社会，堕落的社会就很容易不稳定。听一下他怎么说。
This time, and it takes only from 2 to 5 years to destabilize a nation. What matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense system.
在这里要注意两个事情，不只是经济，还有国防。一旦国防被左派思想开始影响的时候，这对国家来说是有安全的风险。
And you can see it quite clearly that in some areas, in such sensitive areas as defense and economy, the influence of Marxist-Leninist ideas in the United States is absolutely fantastic. I could never believe it 14 years ago when I landed in this part of the world that the process will go that fast. The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis. You can see it in Central America now.
有没有发现每个阶段越来越小，越来越小，越来越小，需要的时间越来越短？在这里我需要再做一个说明，虽然他说道德败坏，但是我觉得这是一个偷换概念的过程，就是把美国的那种美式的价值观替换到那种极端的左派的价值观，所以你们看那个时间也是变得越来越短。如果你要改变一个国家的价值观，就是要花到10到15年，然后让它不稳定，就是需要在5到6年。到危机就是几个礼拜就是。比方说军事政变呢，一般来说都是几个礼拜就完成了。在中南美洲发生的事情，或在现在的缅甸，其实在这里要注意一件事情，为什么我一直说左派的思想很危险？因为左派的思想也常常用一些传统价值观的或保守派的人的弱点，因为确实在以前的社会有非常多的问题是要解决，有非常多的群体的权利是要被照顾的，比方说黑人啊，比方说妇女啊，比方说 LGBTQ 的人啊，都要好好的照顾他们，让他们的权利变得跟其他人一样，因为他们确实有遭到歧视，因为他们确实也被剥削过。但是左派会利用这种比较偏激的保守派的概念，而把它扩大到一个 cancel culture， 我们现在所看到的事情，或如果你不表态或没有强烈支持的话，你就是会被攻击，而且攻击你的人是不会被惩罚的。可怕的事情是在这里，所以我也常常说，共和党做的一个事情是非常错的，就是没有足够的跟黑人团体沟通，没有足够的跟 LGBTQ 沟通，没有足够的跟少数族群沟通啊。 所以民主党觉得他们的选票，比方说黑人的选票，就是黑人本来就是会投给民主党的，但并非如此啊，民主党也不会照顾到黑人啊。看民主党执政的时候有没有改善黑人的就业环境啊，或就业机会啊。所以左派很会利用一件事情，就是人权问题或是弱势团体需要帮助，任何的社会运动，他们会把他们利用当做一个夺权或革命的一个手段，然后自己会站在道德的高点。比方说想看看20世纪初的社会主义革命，那些共产党也都是站在工人权利啊，也是站在道德的高点，说要照顾那些工人，但是革命了之后工人有没有被照顾？所以这件事情有点像现在那些大政府要加税，要提高社会福利，然后同时也只让大的企业发展，然后中小型企业一个一个倒闭，有点像，对不对？所以在这里我要讲一件事情，这个也是提醒一些保守派啊、右派的人啊，可以向我们自由意志派学啊，你要看每个人的 merit， 你不要看肤色啊、宗教信仰啊、性向啊，这些就是每个人的自由，也应该要有的自由，不要管到那里去，还是注意互不侵犯原则，每个人就可以很和平的生存啊。我觉得一旦右派开始学到这件事情，也可以更容易的反驳左派。所以现在这段时间啊，尤其是共和党也要想办法好好的照顾一些其他的需要帮助的团体啊，不要让民主党觉得 LGBTQ 啊，或黑人啊，或南美洲人啊，会自然而然就投票给他们。
And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last indefinitely. Normalization is a cynical expression borrowed from Soviet propaganda. When the Soviet tanks moved into Czechoslovakia in '68, Comrade Brezhnev said, "Now the situation in brotherly Czechoslovakia is normalized."
确实这句话非常的讽刺，你被一个国家变成一个独裁主义地狱，然后说这是正常化。
This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to bring the country to crisis, to promise people all kind of goodies and the paradise on earth, to destabilize your economy, to eliminate the principle of free market competition, and to put a big brother government in Washington, D.C.
Big Brother Government 在这里很重要，这就是它是借用1984 Orwell 的那本小说的那个独裁的那个独裁者，他那个时候叫他老大哥 Big Brother is watching you.
With benevolent dictators like Walter Mondale.
这个人他是卡特总统的副总统，卡特大家知道吧，跟台湾断交的那个王八蛋。
Who will promise lots of things, never mind whether the promises are fulfillable or not. He will go to Moscow to kiss the bottoms of new generation of Soviet assassins. Never mind, he will create false illusions that the situation is under control.
现在改成中共I'm gonna make them play by the rules. 大家记得乔拜登在辩论会的时候讲的那句话，我会教他们遵守原则。
Situation is not under control. Situation is disgustingly out of control. Most of the American politicians, media and educational system trains another generation of people who think they are living at a peacetime. False. The United States is in a state of war. Undeclared total war against the basic principles and the foundations of this system. And the initiator of this war is not Comrade Andropov, of course. It's the system. However ridiculous it may sound, the world communist system or the world communist conspiracy, whether I scare some people or not, I don't give a hoot. If you are not scared by now, nothing can scare you. But you don't have to be paranoid about it. What actually happens now, that unlike myself, you have literally several years to live on unless the United States wake up. The time bomb is ticking. With every second, the disaster is coming closer and closer. Unlike myself, you will have nowhere to defect to, unless you want to live in Antarctica with penguins. This is it. This is the last country of freedom and possibility.
现在不觉醒就来不及了。为什么从80年代到现在，美国还没有遇到那种大型的危机呢？因为苏联瓦解了嘛，但是中共长大了， 而且中共他跑得比苏联还要快，要更加的小心中共。接下来他要讲一下对美国人的一些建议，我觉得每个台湾人也要好好的听。
Okay, so what do we do? What is your recommendation to the American people?
Well, the immediate thing that comes to my mind is, of course, there must be a very strong national effort to educate people in the spirit of real patriotism, number one.
另外有一些人骂美国，然后说什么美军不会来啊，美国已经堕落了，美国就是没未来。错，美国以价值观来说还是这个世界的自由的灯塔，而且因为有美国，所以现在有我们的欧盟啊，现在有我们的自由民主的欧盟，现在才有民主自由的台湾，现在全世界才有那么多的自由自治民主的国家，就是因为有这个灯塔，世界需要美国，所以大家一定要好好的关心美国，要让它继续当一个自由的灯塔。没有美国的话，这个世界就会陷入独裁地狱。
Number two, to explain them the real danger of socialist, communist, whatever, welfare state, big brother government. If people will fail to grasp the impending danger of that development, nothing ever can help United States. You may kiss goodbye to your freedom, including freedoms to homosexuals, to prison inmate. All this freedom will vanish, evaporate in 5 seconds, including your precious lives.
这件事情在历史上已经有非常多的证明啊，像苏共啊、中共啊，看看苏共刚革命了，对不对？他们当初也是说保证每个人的权利啊，大家都很自由啊，那个时候也把同志除罪化。那过了几年，史达林一上任，马上就变成一个罪行。现在左派所主张的自由，如果以后真的变成社会主义共产主义政府，真的是5秒钟就会消失不见了，被蒸发。像是中共啊，那个时候毛泽东他也不是主张各式各样的自由吗？然后也是站在道德的高点嘛，你拿到权力就搞大跃进啊、人民公社啊、文化大革命啊、3年大饥荒啊、集中营啊、劳改营啊，那个恶魔杀的人比史达林杀的还多，而且那个恶魔杀的中国人比日本军队杀的还要多。
The second thing, the moment at least part of United States population is convinced that the danger is real, they have to force their government. And I'm not talking about sending letters, signing petitions, and all this beautiful, noble activity. I'm talking about forcing United States government to stop aiding communism. Because there is no other problem more burning and urgent than to stop the Soviet military-industrial complex from destroying whatever is left of the free world.
不要帮助中共，拜托，不要说该合作的时候合作，该反对的时候反对，不存在。你跟他合作，他不只是吃掉你的午餐啊，他是直接把你的手啊，把你本人就吃掉了。
And it is very easy to do. No credits, no technology, no money, no political or diplomatic recognition, and of course no such idiocy as grain deals to USSR.
有没有？不要专一技术给他们，不要给他们钱啊，不要外交方面承认那些共匪。
The Soviet people, 270 millions of Soviets, will be eternally thankful to you if you stop aiding a bunch of murderers who sit now in Kremlin and whom President Reagan respectfully calls government. They do not govern anything, least of all such complexity as the Soviet economy.
他讲的话把苏联改成中共也是还蛮恰当。
So basic, two very simple, maybe too simplistic answers or solutions, but nevertheless they are the only solutions. Educate yourself, understand what's going on around you. You are not living at a time of peace. You are in a state of war, and you have precious little time to save yourself. You don't have much time, especially if you are talking about young generation. There's not much time left for convulsions to the beautiful disco music. Very soon it will go, just overnight. If we are talking about capitalists or wealthy businessmen, I think they are selling the rope on which they will hang very soon. If they don't stop, if they cannot curb their unsettled desire for profit, and if they keep on trading with the monster of the Soviet communism, they are going to hang very soon.
这是一个重点， 企业家也现在要负起很大的责任，不要继续跟那些独裁者合作。对，他们的劳动比较便宜，但是最后吃亏的是你。说真的，几十年前没有14亿的那个市场啊，每个企业还是可以好好的赚钱啊。现在确实要一直不断的发展，赚得更多，但是你要想，你以后不只是你的企业，你的国家会不会存在
And they will pray to be killed, but unfortunately they will be sent to Alaska probably to manage industry of slaves. It's simplistic. I know it sounds unpleasant. I know Americans don't like to listen to things which are unpleasant. But I have defected not to tell you the stories about such idiocy as microfilm, James Bond type espionage. This is garbage. You don't need any espionage anymore. I have come to talk about survival. It's a question of survival of this system. You may ask me, what is it in it for me? Survival, obviously, because as I said, I am now in your boat. If we sing together, we'll sing beautifully together. There is no other place on this planet to defect.
大家觉得怎么样？有没有说到很多重点？那最后问一下各位朋友们，你们认为现在我们是在哪一个阶段呢？还有没有救？有救的话要做什么？非常感谢各位的观看。如果喜欢这种内容的影片，请帮我按赞、订阅跟留言。想赞助我的话，在这里影片下面会有Patron这个网站的连结哦。我是斯坦，我们下次见，拜拜。